Artificial intelligence is all around us, in our everyday lives. From self-driving cars, web searches, chatbots, health management, and so much more. Can artificial intelligence also be used to make our lives safer? Today, Dr. Fawzia Atcha of IMRON Corporation will be discussing this and more with Nathan Vank of IronYun. Nathan is the Director of Business Development for the western part of North America.
Nathan, thank you so much for being here today. Today we're going to be talking about how artificial intelligence augments physical security. Before we get into this, and there's so much to unpack, can you tell us a little bit about IronYun and your role there?
Absolutely. Yeah, really looking forward to this conversation. IronYun is an AI firm. We're about 100 engineers large right now, and we're headquartered out of Stamford, Connecticut. And our focus, our discipline is visual AI. We're trying to recreate human vision with software.
Okay, and what is your role at IronYun?
And my role is a business development for the West Coast.
Fantastic,
here out of Southern California.
Oh, it's great to be on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, it's the best coast.
With artificial intelligence, it's such a catchphrase, right?
Absolutely.
We hear it from anywhere from smart speakers to an intelligence being like in the Terminator that's going to annihilate all of humanity. So artificial intelligence comes in several categories, right? So it comes as ANI, narrow intelligence, general intelligence, super intelligence. I think general and super are more like theoretical. A lot of work and research is going to be done, but a lot of what we use today, knowingly or unknowingly, fall in that narrow intelligence.
Yeah.
So with what you do, how is artificial intelligence used? Now you mentioned video. So how is that used with physical security?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence and computers and technology, there's been a revolution over the last decade just to make people's lives easier. It could be something as simple as just having a computer there as a cash register makes that attendant's life so much easier. And in the physical security space, the technology has been really manual. There's been video cameras deployed. There's been video storage systems deployed at tremendous scale. There's more data than ever. But on the back end, there's people that have to sift through that, have to click through that, have to buffer through that. And artificial intelligence makes that completely manageable. The AI can catalog stuff in real time, and it gives you the ability to Google through your video footage. So it could take hours of investigation down to seconds.
Okay, and that's more like, so currently we're actually at some places and installations, they're doing more forensic analysis after the fact. But I think your solution, what it provides, is more of like a proactive way of managing now video, for example.
Yeah, and that's the industry is going in this direction where every other year you see the resolutions of cameras doubling. You see multi-sensors. It's video footage, nice, clean, and crispy. It's there, but it's always there for after the fact. After somebody broke into your business, you have crispy footage of it, but that does no good to prevent that from happening. But now with artificial intelligence, your cameras are now proactive. They're in real time understanding what they're looking at. And if there's a scene unfolding that somebody's coming onto your property, for example, it can call it out right away and let you know that somebody's about to break into your property instead of just being there for after the fact.
Okay, and that's very helpful in not just helpful, but it sends alerts, right, to either maybe engage, like, for example, with our integration with your product, to engage in lockdown.
Yes.
If that was required, but people can follow various policies and procedures that are appropriate to their installation and their requirements. And it could alert maybe law enforcement, security personnel, the various administrators, hey, there is a threat, let's do some action with that. So could you kind of in 1 minute, go through the history of how video has evolved. Now, early on, we started with just detecting generic motion and causing a lot of alerts and like leading to maybe alert fatigue. But how has that evolved to what you are doing today?
This is a great question because depending on who you'll ask, they've said, you know, I've seen artificial intelligence 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I've seen video analytics.
Right.
You see that phrase a lot, but how is artificial intelligence different than the video analytics of yesteryear? And where this sort of started, the inception of this was a really clever, really creative idea to play with the pixels that are on the camera, the motion detection that's on the camera. If there's motion, then it has to be somebody, right? So call that out as a person being there. And then you get into more complex scenes. Well, I want to know when there's a vehicle there. So if there's a larger box of pixels that are moving, call that out as a vehicle. But as many of your partners know, your customers know, if they have played around with video analytics, it's not that easy in the real world. There's pixels move for a variety of reasons. Pixels can move because it's raining outside, because there's lights from the vehicles driving by. It could be a tree or a pool can generate these false alerts. So it could say that there's a bus there, but in reality, it's a bug that's attracted to the camera. The difference with artificial intelligence is it's understanding down to the pixel level what it's looking at. So it's understanding that that's a person's foot there. Call that out. That person should not be there. It knows that there's an animal there. It knows what a cow is, a cow going into labor, a cow giving birth. And if you don't want to know about that, it will not bother you. So you're not getting this alert fatigue of having thousands of false alerts pumped to your station. You're getting real actionable alerts to act on.
Right. So it's very specific, and so it's kind of filtering out, like you said, a lot of the more harmless type of events and motions from something that could be a perceived threat. With your product, Nathan, could you explain the various rules that are associated with it, and how can it be used in real life? Now, you've obviously already mentioned the applications with video being more specific to then alert with more real threats. But what are the other rules, and how can that be incorporated in an installation?
Sure. So, great question. With how specific you could get in these rules and the sets, it's really nice for, you know, like the motion detection earlier, that serves its purpose. That is very helpful. There's plenty of uses for that. But in the real world, these bleeding edge cases, you know, a very noisy scene or a complex scene, you're going to want to have a variety of rules. If this, then that, or if you're looking for something in particular, you want to know there's a vehicle there or the type of vehicle, only a bus should be allowed in this lane, and alert if there's a BMW detected. You can't get that level of detail and granularity with traditional video analytics, but with AI, you could detect if, you know, somebody has fallen on the ground, and you could even distinguish, well, let me know if somebody has not gotten off of the ground, if they remain on the ground. So depending on the situation, you could get very granular and detailed to your specific needs, not just a generic technology, and you're trying to fit that puzzle piece into that puzzle where it doesn't fit. Right.
And like applications, for example, like car counting in vehicle structures, like how would someone go about setting that up? Like, because right now when you, in some of the parking structures, you know, something that's local here, you see the rows of red and green lights and a lot of hardware that needs to be installed to accomplish like car counting, telling you how many spaces are available, for example. Like, what can you do with your product with that?
That's a great example. And this is a great, this technology is maybe a disruptor for that type of technology where we can now visually look at a row of cars. You can now identify all of those parking spots, and the AI can keep tabs on which spots are full and which ones are empty. And you could have all of those spots like a virtual valet. It lets you know which ones are free, which ones are taken, how long people have been there. And then you do have the vehicle counting as well for different floors. So a lot of detail. You could get down to the make and the models that are going by and get reports in real time versus having motion sensors that are costly and that are above parking spots.
Right. And then with today's time, we talked about mass shootings with Lieutenant Betzler, who is here. How does weapons detection, how can that be incorporated to help mitigate or help alleviate some of that threat and to be able to see it quicker and act faster?
Absolutely. So I want to be clear that, that this is a tough situation and there isn't one right answer that will, take care of the situation, but it could definitely help mitigate the damage that can be done. So right now, the best practices in the States is there's an active shooter situation, shelter in place. And, very traumatic. There's a lot going on in that moment. And
absolutely, yeah.
But with the AI, you could add several layers of the onion before that gets to that point. You can imagine, what are the red flags? What are the issues that could lead up to these moments? This will be different school by school. They know maybe who these people could be or who might be capable of this. There's other indicators that could point to this. And now imagine you could take your camera infrastructure. You can now get an alert if that student or that employee that should not be there on premise is in fact there. So you're getting that alert as they're in the parking lot. That could be license plate recognition. That could be facial recognition. You can get eyes on the situation and initiate a lockdown before anything ever happens. You could even go, as that person's approaching, visual AI can detect weapons. It could detect rifles, handguns, and knives. That could be a real-time alert as well to get somebody to put their eyes on it. And you also have gunshot detectors as well. These have 0 false alerts. If it hears a gunshot go off, that can initiate a lockdown automatically without a person in the loop.
Oh my gosh.
So instead of scrambling, as that situation's unfolding, you can't believe it's even happening. The AI is automatically kicking in and forcing a lockdown. So that's several different actions that could be taken instead of just being responsive, just reacting to that horrible situation.
No, absolutely. Because as we've seen in a lot of these incidences, that minutes, even like a couple of minutes, makes so much of a difference in the number of lives that are lost.
Absolutely.
And being able to maybe automate and have this act. Now, is it possible for it to be, premature is not the best word, to be overly cautious and maybe initiate a lockdown and that it may not have been an actual threat? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why you want a person in the loop right now to make those judgment calls. Is this person of interest? They can maybe send out a security guard to go talk to them or deal with that off-site before it becomes an issue. But yeah, you don't want to jump the gun and have this call the police and lock everything down when it's a toy gun or something.
Right, absolutely. And in line with that, there's so many administrative aspects that this can be used for. With COVID now, hopefully in our rearview mirror, temperature sensors and people counting. What about those applications? And can they be used currently in maybe not so... There's not a heavy requirement for these. I think that's waning a little bit, but can you still use that in different ways?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is one of my favorite aspects to talk about. So you have the infrastructure that's at the school, the cameras, the recorder, the internet. Yes, there's plenty of security applications that we're talking about, but now you can imagine using that same infrastructure and this AI. Other departments can benefit from this. The administration, to the dispatches of the buses. Imagine now, again, whatever you can see, video can see and understand. So imagine you can now get a tally of how many school buses have come by, how long school buses have been waiting there. You can manage that entire operation with this technology. students coming into the facility, why not automate attendance?
Right.
Why not? This can tell the difference between two twins, and it can log their attendance there as well. So there's, you're really limited by your own imagination. I would say you ask anyone at any school district, they will say there's too much to do. And maybe the AI can do some of that heavy lifting for them, can automate that reporting for them weekly, monthly. It can give them insights, and it can do a lot of that heavy lifting with them.
Great. And so when we think about this, when we think about artificial intelligence and the manner in which your product is installed, we're not talking about replacing existing physical security infrastructure. If someone has access control there, someone has video at their installation. So this is being used in conjunction with existing physical security solutions that are already in place. There's a lot of movement towards having the AI at the edge, versus in this scenario would be an application. Can you talk a little bit about the differences between the two, and how this could be implemented in not replacing, but working cohesively with what's existing already there?
Fantastic question. Yeah, that's the beauty of this. It works with all of that existing infrastructure. There's no need to rip and replace anything to get the latest features. This software cuts across that. It piggybacks on that infrastructure. There's cameras out there that are 20-year-old cameras that are analog cameras, and people think they have no use, but that's ridiculous. You could put all of these features on that existing camera if you wanted to. You could turn that old camera into a state-of-the-art license plate recognition camera with software now.
Okay, so whatever cameras someone already has, cameras in their installation, whether it's analog, as you have mentioned, that's pretty interesting, and any on-viv compliant camera, you can take that, and now whether or not it has analytics at the edge, you could use that in a way that now it becomes kind of like a smart camera and provides the user an experience that maybe they couldn't have had.
Yeah, absolutely. And on-edge cameras are fantastic. You could have a feature right there that's really advantageous for a number of scenes, remote sites, or you name it, just having facial rec right there on the camera. That's incredible. But with this software being in a server, even a little tiny server right behind the camera itself, that server is capable of running hundreds of analytics. And just right now, just the physics of it, you cannot process that much on edge on a camera. But in several years, absolutely. These only get more and more powerful, but we're in the early years of these smart cameras. So right now it's limited to what you could process.
Processing power. And leading into the storage and whether being on premises versus cloud, how does that weigh in decision making? Because video footage is enormous, and trying to talk and send that in the cloud makes it very difficult. So what are the solutions and what are ways to address that?
Yeah, so it's great to have cloud options, the redundancy there, the storage there. And I guess where the AI can play a factor here is saving moments that you bookmark moments that are important to you. Somebody that slipped and fell, you may want that for liability reasons, for legal reasons, and you could save that indefinitely. So instead of having continuous video, you could have these bookmarks saved permanently offsite in a redundant storage in a cloud. Okay,
so going back to the rules, you have so many rules, and like you said, they can be used singularly or they could be mixed and matched, and you can get very customized in your requirements. Let's now focus maybe at a big football game where you have 60 to 70,000 people in attendance. And you have a very rivalrous game, and you have students and parents and all of these attendees, and people are talking, trash talking, and some fight breaks out because, hey, my team is better than yours. What can we do there?
Fantastic. So the AI, okay, let's take a step back. Just like you and I can see a concession stand, see people that have had too many. And we could tell, hey, there's a fight that's about to break out. There's signs, a crowd is forming. They began to push each other. They're putting their hands up. They're fighting. The AI can perceive that as well. The AI can tell these people are about to fight, and it could call that out. If they're fighting, it could call that out as well.
And it could call it out and alert maybe the law enforcement or the security personnel that's walking around in the stadium or in that location. It's a huge
facility. They can't be all places all the time.
Absolutely.
And, in the real world, this is not the UFC. In the real world, time is of the essence if a fight were to break out. It's a very serious situation.
Right.
And you want to know about that ASAP.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And it can maybe help mitigate that violent action or fight or whatever may ensue from there. In terms of cameras and looking at cameras and watching people, what kind of applications can we use with that?
There's a really great application that we have. There's our video search, but we've built upon this. So video search is the ability to Google through your video, essentially, for moments that you're looking for. But when it comes to person or person of interest, we kept running into this scenario where we know it was Nathan that caused a ruckus, and we want to piece together this storyboard and pass it off to the authorities. And this is very time consuming. Even if you know for a fact who did what, to be able to piece that together is very time consuming. You don't know if Nathan came from the left hall or they came from the right hall. You're clicking into that film. You're watching several minutes of video to see him run by for 1 second sometimes. And that's very painful and time consuming for a person. Now with the AI, you could just click on him and it'll create that whole storyboard for you in less than 30 seconds. It'll tie in the indoor maps and the outdoor maps. It'll show you all of the cameras that Nathan walked in front of, the path that he took to get there, the timestamps and the images, and you could export that and you're good to go. You could pass that off to the authorities in less than a minute.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's quick and easy rather than going through all of that video, like you said, right?
Yeah, we've had teams in the real world police stations. There was an incident where someone got shot with a paintball gun, and they had their forensics team, their investigative team, piece together the Ring doorbell footage, the 7-Eleven footage, the home security camera. After 25 hours, they just said, we don't have the resources to continue investigating this. We put all that footage in video. It did it in less than a couple of minutes. Oh
gosh, so it saves so much time, and also you don't need so many eyes because it's so precise as well, right? So you're actually getting the right person at the right time and the right moment, and you're able to then result in action, whatever that action might be.
This enables teams to do their job so much more effectively, efficiently. It's just better for their day-to-day, their general well-being and happiness. It just makes everyone's life easier. It's like giving a calculator to an accountant. There's no doubt about it. Every security team will have this technology in the next 10 years.
Nathan, going back to the rules, we've talked about several rules. What about intrusion detection? How can that be used with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think we talked about some really interesting applications today, but I want people to focus on the bread and butter. There's so much value to be had with the video search we were discussing. The intrusion detection is one of my favorites. The idea here is you have cameras that are out deployed, and the intrusion detection can now let you know if there's a person that's approaching your facility. And the beauty of this is just taking a 2 megapixel substream, you could detect a person 300 to 400 feet away. So as soon as they step foot out there, you're getting notified. And this will ignore all of the false alerts that we were discussing earlier. And let you know that person's a football field away from your facility. So there's plenty, all the cameras that are deployed right now, none of them have Google search and none of them have real-time analytics. So there's plenty that are deployed that can use these features today.
Great. No, that sounds fantastic. Oh, and that's great that you said that, because for final thoughts, I wanted to get your opinion in where we're going with this technology. How do you see it? I mean, again, artificial intelligence is everywhere, but in terms of physical security, where do you see that in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Sure. So I love that question. I'll try not to get too far out there. But
oh, you can. You can.
It's at a really special time right now. And I'm not just saying that. I've been in the AI space for over 8 years, and the last 8 months have been more eventful than all of that put together. There's this really interesting curve where where hardware, Moore's law, the processing power keeps doubling. But there's also this curve with AI that's 10 times faster than Moore's law, the ability that what AI is scaling to right now. And I think over the next several years, you'll see companies put together these special applications, detecting a face or detecting a license plate. I think you'll start to see these come together in a complete solution, a single pane of glass, have all of those analytics there. And then I think from there, it's anyone's call, but I do think robotics will play a big part of it by the end of the decade.
Okay, so you heard it here first. Nathan, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great conversation, and we're looking forward to working further with you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For more information, please visit our website at imron.com.